Good evening, I'm Lafern Cusack, and welcome to It's Your Call, where we are tackling parking and traffic here in Santa Monica. So we want you to call in to 310-458-4950 with your information. And tonight we are going to be using something different. We want your input. We want you to log on. We're going to have very different questions throughout, poll questions, where you log on to pollev.com/City TV. And our first question for this evening is, how would you like to get your traffic information sent to you? With all the construction going on the roads and going all over town, what makes it easiest for you to get your traffic information? Is it by email, text, or on a website, or all of the above? So log on to pollev.com/City TV. Now, we have two experts, two gurus here tonight with us. We have Sam Morrissey, City Traffic Engineer, City Santa Monica, and also Frank Ching. He's Parking Administration for the City of Santa Monica. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Great, thanks for having us.
I'm happy to have you guys here. There are a lot of ways that we can get our information about traffic, and you guys make it easy. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, your poll question is fantastic because the City of Santa Monica has a program called SM Alerts where we send out information every week about road closures and upcoming construction activities. People can get that in an email or in a text, or they can go to a website to learn about that. And that's just one of the ways we get traffic information out there. We also have information on projects upcoming and planned, so you can plan ahead, perhaps for your summer or your fall.
Plan ahead? Who does that in LA?
True. So if you don't plan ahead, there's a lot of apps that you can get on your phone. A lot of your mapping apps that you get on your phone, whether it's some of the proprietary apps, have traffic, live traffic. I prefer something called sigalert.com. That's real traffic information. We also have real-time parking information. We have an app that our city uses that you can access if you go to smgov.net/parking, and you can find real-time parking information for our parking structures and our on-street meters. So
I actually use that. That's wonderful.
Excellent.
Now, Frank, I know that you're an award-winning
Thank you.
Parking administrator. Tell us about your job and what it entails.
Well, very simple. There's 21 million cars I have to park every year. So when anybody visit our city, when these 21 million cars come into our city, my job is put them away safely and easily, make the most easy access back to their home or back to their go to their destination.
Now, a lot of people ask, why is traffic so horrible in Santa Monica? I'm going to throw that out to you guys.
Well, and I would say it's not just Santa Monica, it's Los Angeles as a whole. Los Angeles County has 10 million people. It's roundly regarded as one of the most densely populated areas in the country, if not the most densely populated area. We have millions of people that live here, that work here, that come to visit here. Santa Monica is an internationally renowned destination. If you go anywhere in the world and tell them you're from Santa Monica, California, they know where that is. And all these people want to be here, and they want to do different things here. They want to go to work, they want to shop, they want to visit, they want to go to restaurants, they want to go to school, or they just want to go home. All those people really constrain our relatively limited transportation network. We only have so many roads and so many sidewalks and so many bus lines and transit lines. So it's I call it kind of a delicate ballet that we have to balance each day.
Absolutely. And how do we balance all the parking?
Well, we definitely have different type of user on our parking facilities. We have workers, visitors, and also our residents. We issue over 70,000 parking permits every year. So imagine our residents already take a part of our parking supply. And by operating our downtown parking structures, convenience for our employees and also our beach goers for recreation purpose and our beach lots, that's a big inventory that we operate in the city.
It's very big, and I know one of our listeners, they emailed in a question for you. This is from Brian. He would like to know why in parking structure number 5 on 4th and Broadway you removed the motorcycle parking.
Well, safety. The motorcycle parking space that we have relocated is because this was right behind the exit, and we noticed that a lot of motorcyclists, they actually enter the parking facility from the exit against the traffic that exiting the facility. So by removing that, we actually love our motorcyclists just like any other motorist to enter the garage. Hope they use the same traffic flow through our gate system. That way, they safely park and go to their destination.
But also, Brian was saying that having that parking structure there, he felt safe that no one will steal his motorcycle if that parking structure was there.
That's correct. Our parking structure is actually patrolled by a police force, and I'm very, very confident our police will secure our visitors' property.
Yeah. So let's talk about the traffic signals. We have a lot of cars. How do traffic signals get installed?
Sure. Well, there are state and federal standards for when we install traffic signals to control the right-of-way, to control the access at an intersection. In Santa Monica, we're very careful about where we install traffic signals because we know that when you install a traffic signal, we actually make it easier for people to cross a street or get into an area. So we're very careful along streets like Wilshire Boulevard to not put traffic signals at every intersection because then people will be looking for shortcuts or ways to get north, and we could end up flooding a residential neighborhood.
Shortcuts, they would cut through, like the drivers would cut through.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Everybody thinks they can beat the traffic when I think it's a fact of life during certain times of day that traffic exists. But we have about 200 traffic signals in the city that we've installed over the years. Those traffic signals are actually operated as a high-tech fiber optic network. We can communicate with almost all of our traffic signals via a central control system in our city hall. It's kind of mission control. We sit at a computer, we can pull up our traffic cameras that are at various intersections, monitor real-time conditions, and actually make changes to traffic signal operations. So for example, during special events or on busy weekends, we might find the need to facilitate the traffic flows to get people into the parking structures.
Oh, wow.
And then in the afternoon, we might decide to change the traffic signals to facilitate flows out of the parking structures.
Okay, so it's more of a person manning it versus it's a timed thing for each light.
Typically it's timed for each light, but during certain special conditions we do put people behind there and put an actual human in charge of the operations. But it is a dense network and a grid, so if we make a change at one location, we have to think about those implications throughout the 200 other traffic signals.
Yeah, which can be very difficult. How do we do that?
Very carefully. We actually do a lot of work beforehand to do timing analysis studies. We look at corridors. We recently completed a study along Pico Boulevard where we've got Santa Monica College kind of nestled in the middle of Pico Boulevard. And Santa Monica College, being the type of destination that it is, having the different types of class schedules that it has, we have to operate the signals around Santa Monica College very different than where we do on the west end of Pico Boulevard or the east end of Pico Boulevard. But we do a lot of this studies behind the scenes before we actually have to implement so that we can kind of pre-program and upload, and then it becomes a simple menu. If we want to do timing plan A, B, C, or D, or all the way through Z, we can do that.
Does parking play an instrument in that planning? Like if there's various lights, do we have certain parking restrictions for that?
I'll start. I mean, every car trip starts and ends with a parking space, so we recognize that. And Frank and I work together, but maybe you can expand on it.
Well, for the good example is Sam. We actually provide a lot of data for Sam to look into the timing. So we able to provide the parking data can actually shows our engineer that, at certain time people are coming in, at certain time people are leaving the city. That's kind of circle back to the timing of the signal with the traffic. That type of coordination is very, very important to plan our traffic and parking together.
Now, I understand that a lot of people get very upset around the parking and traffic here in Santa Monica. How do you guys deal with that? Well,
I think we've all been there. I've been frustrated in traffic and parking. I mean, we've experienced it everywhere. So the first step is to recognize it's natural. It's frustrating. I deal with it by trying to get people information, try to be honest with them about what to expect when they come to the city, try to be honest about them trying to accommodate their needs. In Santa Monica, you may want to drive and park right in front of your destination. That may not be possible because there are competing needs for that parking space in front of your destination. We have to provide people with an honest response, tell them why we're making these decisions, put some transparency out there, what are the reasons that we're trying to do it. I frequently talk to people about an on-street parking space and say, in Santa Monica, we've got visitors who want to park there, we've got customers that want to park there, we've got commercial deliveries, we've got short-term parking zones, we've got long-term parking zones, we've got taxi zones, tour bus zones. all these different competing needs for this one space in front of your property or your business, and we have to balance all that. We can't just provide one versus everything else.
If I want a traffic light or a parking space in front of my business here in Santa Monica, would that be difficult?
No, I mean, every business that has an on-street parking space in front of it, we typically work with that business first and foremost to find out what they need. We recently made a change in the downtown where we changed all of our meters from 2-hour durations to 3-hour durations. A lot of that was implemented because we talked to a lot of hair salons. I don't spend too much time at a hair salon, but it turns out that you need more than 2 hours at a hair salon to get a good hairdo done. So we did not realize this, but hair salons, dental offices, we talked to those businesses and we said, what kind of time do you need down there?
Communication is actually definitely is a key. I often meet with our neighborhood group or business improvement district, and then when I tell them, okay, within our city, we actually park over 20 million cars a year, and there's a lot of cars if you can imagine. So when you communicate and with our stakeholder, general public, that then they start to understand, wow, this is not an easy task to put away so much cars between the traffic guy and the parking guy.
Right. And now is the time for our listeners to call in. City TV call-in line 310-458-4950. And again, our poll call, just log on to pollev.com/citytv. And we have a call in right now. Okay. Again, log into pollev.com/citytv for the question to the answer of how do you prefer your traffic? Do you want to go online? Do you want the city to email it to you or to text it to you, or all of the above? I think I would love a text if something happened. So I really do appreciate it. To look at what we have here, text 22333. How would you like to receive updates about your Santa Monica traffic? Email, text, on the website, or all of the above. What would you guys like?
I prefer the email notification. I think we can include a lot more information in an email. Our text messages are typically limited, but we do all of that. We provide the text, the email, and the website because people like to get their information in different ways.
All right. Do you find any limitations to that?
No. Any type of media, it's good, but I would prefer email also because I'm pretty sure everybody by now understand looking at text or texting out when you're driving is not legal. So check your email before you get into a car will actually be very, 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 very effective.
Yes.
Actually, though, you mentioned limitations. I mean, there is a limitation. Not everybody knows that they can get these text messages or emails from the city. We've got people that don't frequently come to Santa Monica. They don't watch city TV. They don't learn about these things. So we're doing other things like putting up real-time signage that will provide real-time information. Right now, if you drive to any of our downtown parking structures, there's a sign in front of it that tells you how many parking spaces are available.
Yes, I love that.
That's great. So what we're actually doing is expanding that signage so that when you get off the freeway at 4th Street, there'll be a sign at the freeway that will say there are this many empty spaces if you turn right, this many empty spaces if you turn left, to help people plan ahead, to know a little bit more in advance of what to expect.
That really, really helps. So have you seen the flow in traffic change with those new parking?
We're still in the process of building and installing those signs, but in the past when we've put up temporary signs that have that message, we've seen a tremendous change. Frank can probably talk about that.
Absolutely. Our off-street parking facility actually interact with the user, not just first of all the signs in front of the garage, and then the data we actually uploaded to a real-time parking phone app and a website. So user actually can use either website, phone app, or looking at the signs and to able to tell, oh, should I just go, if this garage is full, we should just go ahead, drive forward to the next garage. And by doing that, car will stay mobile and the car will keep moving instead of keep congesting the traffic and wait for a parking space to be open. Right.
And again, call in for your questions for Sam and Frank to 310-458-4950. And again, log on to vote pollev.com/citytv. Let's talk about the parking meters. What do you do to get them installed and try to decide, is it going to be a card operated one or how it takes the payment?
Sure, it's a multi-step process. I'll start because it kind of starts with us as the transportation engineering side of things. You know, we're tasked with determining how do we use on-street spaces.
Yeah.
Typically, a parking meter is installed as a way to manage that on-street space. Typically, we're looking at on-street spaces where we need to make sure that cars only stay in that space for a certain amount of time. Parking meter is a great tool that sort of self-enforces. By having a time limit, by having a requirement to pay money, that parking meter allows people to park there for a certain amount of time. So we, as the traffic engineers, we go out and take a look at a location and say, okay, this is a location typically in commercial districts, more frequently than not in a commercial district. We install the meter in front of the business because the businesses want the customers and the visitors to be able to access that, to be able to come to their business, stay for a certain amount of time, then leave and open up that spot for the next visitor. So when we determine that a parking meter should be installed, we direct the installation of a parking meter, and then we work with Frank's staff to get the meters installed.
My job is, my perspective is actually customer service. I don't think it's fair to ask people to carry 8 coins to pay for an hour of parking. So putting in the credit card acceptance parking meters is definitely a big enhancement on the customer service level. We also, as people may already find out, there's a sensor on the ground. The sensor actually contribute a lot to our...
A sensor underground?
There's a sensor on each parking meter space. That's a ground sensor detect the vehicle, the park on the space.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, so and that's actually how we have our real-time information online. So you can actually look and see on any street where there's a parking meter, you can see how many metered spaces are occupied or emptied. So you might go to a street where you want to park and find out, see that it's all blocked. You can pull up your app and say, oh, 1 block over, there's tons of free open spaces. I'm going to go over to those open spaces.
Wow. That's high tech.
Yes, we are actually the very first city had close to 100% on ground sensor on each of our parking meter program.
Interesting. So can the, do we call them meter maids now? Or the
Our parking enforcement officers.
Okay. See, thank you. Parking enforcement officers. Do they have that app and to see if someone is overstaying their welcome at a parking meter?
They do not use that for enforcement. They still maintain their typical enforcement beats. But the meters do have a light that flashes. So the meter flashes green if it's paid and red if it's not. So the parking enforcement officers can drive down the street and see which lights are blinking red and know that that means that meter is not paid.
Okay, if you have any questions about parking meters, please call 310-458-4950. And Mike is on the line. He would like to talk about parking meters. Welcome to the show, Mike. Mike, can you hear us? Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hello.
Hi, what's your question?
I have a question about parking meters.
Go ahead.
Let's say I have an expired parking meter in Santa Monica, of course. What's the average amount of time it takes for a meter person to get to my meter and give me a ticket? Like, what's their circulation?
What's your safety net? Well, I can't give you an exact time frame because that will really depend on where they are. Your best bet is to recognize that when your time limit's expired, you've exceeded the duration of time that you're legally allowed to park at that meter. Those time limits are put there in place for a reason because we want to facilitate the turnover of parking spaces. So if you're at a 2-hour meter and you've been parked for 2 hours, we'd like you to leave that space and move on to another location. We've got a lot of long-term parking options in the parking structures if you need to park for a longer time. So we want you to make sure that you know where those are. The parking enforcement officers, if they come across your vehicle at any time that the meter's expired, you're subject to a ticket and a citation. So you might get lucky sometimes, it might be far away, but other times you'll get caught. And I'm the kind of person that would rather play it safe and not get caught, but people take their chances.
Yeah, well, don't take your chances, I say. We're going to have the poll answers up next, but we're going to take a break in a few minutes. And the poll question again, how would you like to receive your information via text, email, online, or all of the above? And gentlemen, you love emails. Okay, so now we have the poll results. Let's get that. How would you like to get your traffic updates? We have 14% say email. Text messaging is 43%, tied with a website, going to the website. So there you have it. All right, well, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to have more great poll questions for you to participate in, and also hear back from our gurus, Sam Morrissey and Frank Ching. I'm Lafern Cusack, and it's your call.
Giving a little can mean a lot to people who are hungry and homeless. Victims of domestic violence need help every day.
I'm here to volunteer.
Together, we can do it. If you do one thing, take one step to help those who need it the most in your community, you just might find that you can bring a smile to those who need it the most. Share your caring at opcc.org.
Looking for something to do this week? You could visit the California Heritage Museum. The museum is open every Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. till 4. Stop by and catch our latest exhibit, find unusual gifts in the museum shop, and picnic on the lawn. We're a block from the beach at Ocean Park Boulevard and Main Street in Santa Monica. The California Heritage Museum. Discover us.
When I grow up, I want to help animals. When I grow up, I want to help animals. When I grow up, I want to help animals.
Tom is my brother. He always made me laugh.
Tom is my firstborn. I taught him how to drive.
Tom is my son. At 20, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. The illness took him to the street and we feared we'd lost him forever.
But I got help from Step Up on Second, and today I have a home. And my friends and family are back in my life.
Step Up on Second, rebuilding lives one step at a time.
And welcome back to It's Your Call. I'm Lafern Cusack, and again, please call in to 310-458-4950, and you can get your answers from our guru, Sam Morrissey, City Traffic Engineer, and also Frank Chin, Parking Administrators, and they're here to answer all of your Santa Monica question. And right now, we're going to have a question for, do you ever check for parking and traffic information before you leave the house? That's our poll question. Do you ever check for parking and traffic information before you leave your house? Yes or no? And you can log on to pollev.com/citytv, and we will post your results at the end of this segment. Now, let's talk about how we can get guest parking. How can we do that, and is it easy?
Sure. Well, our residential preferential parking program, which is the permit parking in residential neighborhoods, allows residents to get visitor permits. So if people visit their house but they want them to be able to park in their neighborhood, they can get these visitor permits. A lot of people ask us why they can't get those permits less than 24 hours in advance. We require a 24 advance sale. So Frank can tell you more about that.
Well, first of all, the program is very simple. If you ever have obtained a boarding pass online, it's pretty much the same procedure you have to do. Log into your account, punch in your password, and type in how many permits you need, and it will generate. You can just print it right off of your computer. The reason why we need to take 24 hours ahead of time is because we have to make sure and confirm with our police force, which is the enforcement team, to know the permit is valid and legit and not give you a citation. I'm sure you don't want your guests to have a citation after they visit you.
Oh, okay. Well, we have a caller on the line, Robert. Robert's not there. So how many of these permits can we get? Is there a limit?
25, up to 25 guest permit per day and 300 per year.
Okay. And Robert is back online with us. Robert, do you have a question?
Hi, yes. I live on 6th Street between Broadway and Colorado. And when I park my car, I go through the 6th Street alley, which is one way and it ends into Colorado. So now that the Expo line construction is going on, there's very few options for me to exit. And I'm wondering if they're going to change any of the one-way streets along the Expo line, or what are they going to do to help people who are living right alongside Colorado to get out of their to get out of the area faster, instead of being stuck in for 10 minutes just trying to get onto a street where they can get out.
How can we do that? What's happening with that?
Well, right now it's construction. Construction is impactive, so we know it's impacting your lives. If you live near that construction, it's impacting your life every day. The good news is it will end, and at the end of that construction, we're going to have a light rail line that connects us to downtown LA. You'll be able to get on at 4th in Colorado, which is about 2 blocks from your house, take that train to downtown LA, get on another line and go as far east as Monrovia and points east, connect yourself to any of the Amtrak lines. So at the end of this construction, you'll have a positive benefit in terms of more transportation options. Right now, it is impactive. First and foremost, make sure that you're going online to get our updates. Make sure you've signed up for SM Alerts. That's Santa Monica Alerts. You can go to www.smconstructs.org to get information about how to sign up for that. Learn about the construction that's going to be going on in your area. You'll get emails or text messages every Sunday night at 7 p.m. that will let you know about the construction activities, so you can plan ahead on your trip. In terms of trying to get around with Expo, right now, no major changes to the roadway are going to happen.
What? No major changes?
Aside from putting a train down the middle of Colorado Avenue, no major changes. There is a difference on Colorado between 4th and 5th Street. The eastbound lane of Colorado is closed, and the train station will be there. But if you want to go west on Colorado, you'll be able to do that. The traffic signals will remain at 6th in Colorado, 7th in Colorado, Lincoln in Colorado. But you'll have to learn how to get around. The train itself will be operating just like a car. It'll have to stop at red and green lights. It'll have to obey traffic signals. Now it'll be a little different in terms of how it operates. It has to know that a signal is going to turn red a little bit sooner than a car so that it can brake. But we're working with the operator to make sure that that operates. The trains operate throughout LA County. We know it will work. We know that we can operate them the same with vehicles and trains. So that's kind of a short answer for what you can do. I know right now it's impactive again, but the construction's slated to end effectively next summer, and then there'll be a couple months of testing where you'll actually see trains running without people in it. But by the summer of 2016, the train should be operational and you can make use of that.
All right, so there is an end. We have a viewer who emailed in a question saying in some areas residents complain about a shortage of car parking, yet when you look at those neighborhoods more closely you find that a large number of private garages are used for storing private property, furniture and stuff rather than storing their car. How can we make sure that the areas with the parking shortages, residents are encouraged to use their garages for their cars? Can we implement that?
Some cities do that. Some cities do actually investigate each location, each address in a residential preferential parking neighborhood to make sure that when they're asking for the ability to park their car on the street, that's because that's the only option available to them, that there's no parking on their site. We in Santa Monica do not do that. If you can imagine, it would require us to go out to each of the 70,000 permit holders, try and go door to door and inspect their homes, and that's not something that we're interested in.
Is that illegal to do? That sounds illegal.
Well, it would be another arm of kind of a code enforcement option. Now we are going to be going to City Council later in this summer to talk about the residential preferential parking program. This viewer or emailer was not the first person to ask us this question, and we're going to go to council and ask our City Council if they would like us to pursue that level of investigation before we issue permits.
Yeah, and that sounds like more jobs for people to hop on board and get this done. We have a listener or a person online. Will has a question for us. Hi there, Will. Will?
Yeah.
Hi. What's your question?
Hi. Well, my wife has parked a couple times in Santa Monica, and she's had to be there for, say, the full 9 hours on the meter, and she's paid with her credit card. But both times she's gotten a ticket. The problem seems to be that when she showed the receipt to the authorities, they still insisted on payment for the ticket. Now, I'm not sure if there's a glitch there or if it's policy. I was wondering if you could shed some light on that.
Yeah, parking glitches for someone that pays the full day and they get a ticket saying that they did not pay.
So,
actually, there's two different things I can respond to that. First of all, I'm very glad to hear she kept her proof of payment So we can actually track it down without any issues, because any payment form, it's actually tracked and recorded, and we can verify it very simply through our system. Each parking meter is actually communicate with our centralized control panel, so we can track it down very easily. Secondly, she can actually approach with our police department parking enforcement team and file for initial review. Police department also has access to our system. They're able to verify her payment and to make sure the transaction is correct, or if the error is on our side, or what happened, and her ticket should able to be taken care of or reviewed pretty simply. One suggestion I think it may happen, she might need to pay attention to the time limit. She may thought that she paid 9 hours, but then the time limit could be reached over the time limit, and that's why a citation was issued. But again, until we look into the transaction, what happened, I can't jump to the conclusion. I strongly encourage her to file an initial review, and our police department force will able to verify everything for her.
And Frank, I'm sorry to interrupt, but to the question of having to pay the citation, our citation process is governed by the state vehicle law, which outlines the process. There is a certain level in terms of contesting a ticket, at which point the person who receives the ticket is required to pay the ticket while the review is being conducted. So if the review is being conducted and it's found that the person was parked legally, they will be refunded that amount. But there is a certain point in the review process where they are asked to pay the ticket because it's gone past the initial review stage.
Correct.
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of people that have that issue. I know a couple people have emailed in and tweeted in that has happened to them. Do we keep a record of how many meters fail?
Yes, each of the parking meter actually communicate real time with our centralized control panel. If a meter actually really fail, we able to realize it real time, and based on the report, we send our meter tech to go target to get them fixed.
All right. Well, Will, I hope that answers your question. And again, for our poll question, do you ever check for parking and traffic information before you leave the house? And you can log on to pollev.com/citytv for that information, yes or no. And at the end of the segment, we will provide you with that information. We have a lot of more questions, a lot of people online as well. Again, call in 310-458-4950 for more information. Do you guys ever find that there's so much information that is being provided to you that it's hard to sort out?
Well, how many calls and emails do you typically get in a week, Frank?
In a week, in a typical day, I get about roughly 100 to 110 emails directed to me per day.
That's just to Frank, and that's not all of the rest of our staff. And we get more than 300 inquiries a year, just general traffic safety inquiries. Traffic impacts everybody's life. Parking impacts everybody's lives.
Absolutely.
So, but we keep detailed track of them. Our city actually has an online complaint system, the government outreach GO system, where we get a lot of complaints filed through the GO system. Those are actually tracked, and we follow up, and we have a certain amount of time that we'd like to follow up in. People call us, email us, come into the office directly to provide those complaints. We track them all because a lot of complaints are consistent and similar, and we get the same type of complaint from people or the same question, and we want to be able to provide the consistent same answer to everyone.
Do you have a poll question going just like us about how many people complain about certain things?
We don't keep track of it in those types of categories, no.
Come on, have a poll question.
Good idea.
Again, log on to pollev.com/citytv and submit your poll question. Now, I'm really in awe of what you guys do and the magnitude of it. And with the parking meters having it being tracked, we can view actually if a car is at a parking meter or not. What do you guys see for the future of Santa Monica and parking? Is it going to get a lot easier?
We hope the parking will get a lot easier. I mean, the number one complaint that I get from people is that they pull up to a sign or a parking space and they look at the signs and they have no idea whether or not they can park there legally or not. You know, I oversee the production of signs in the city, and I've gotten tickets at signs that I've installed because I had misread them. It happens. It's confusing. We've got so many different uses that we're trying to handle on the street.
But some of the signs are so confusing.
They are, because there's so many different regulations, so many different things that we're trying to do on the street. But I think there's a lot of progress being made. Just in the past week, we've talked to probably 3 different people that are developing apps for parking. And everybody has the singular goal of just make it easier. We just want to make it easier for people to find parking, to find the way that they want to get to their route, and to get there as easily and as quickly as possible. Frank and I are working together right now on an app that hopefully will be kind of a singular trip planning app for the city. If you want to go anywhere in Santa Monica, how can you get there? What mode of travel will you want to take? How much will it cost you? How long will it take? Where can you park your car when you get there? And what can you do when you get there?
You can plan your year.
Yeah, so hopefully in the next year we'll be rolling out this application. And there's a lot going on in the private world. Frank's worked with a number of developers.
Yes, first of all, I frequently people ask me, Frank, what do you think when Expo Line will come? And my response is always well, the best part about Expo Line, I don't have to park the train. There will be thousands of people able to come visit us or leaving us without I have to park their cars.
I'm excited about the Expo Line. I mean, I come from Chicago, and all we had to do is jump on a train anywhere, you know, and just get downtown and get it anywhere we wanted within a few minutes. So it's great. I think I'm going to be excited to use it.
Yeah, and as Sam said earlier, we also work with a lot of private parking operator, private garage, and hopefully we can share the inventory and bring their inventory into our inventory.
Yes.
So that way, cars you basically increase your inventory and direct cars into easier to park to go to the parking space. If we can include the private location into our phone app, into our website, and able to integrate with them and the real-time parking space, instead of just only parking the cars in the municipality garage, that's the right way to do.
Yeah.
Great.
We have a caller right now, Daniel. Daniel has a question for us. Welcome to the show, Daniel. Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
Oh, Danielle. Hi.
Danielle,
what's your question?
Hi, I'm a local cyclist, and I wanted to know, I bike in the bike lanes that you see in the streets, and some of them are green and some of them are not green. A very good example of it is the one on Main Street towards City Hall. I saw that the bike lane now has become painted green. Is there any discerning the difference between the regular bike lanes that aren't painted and the green ones?
So the bike lanes are the same. If you see the white stripes with the little picture of the bicycle in the middle of that lane, that is a bike lane. A lot of people don't realize this, but the color of paint that you put on the ground is a strictly regulated thing. The state and the federal government actually dictate what colors and what kinds of stripes and markings you can put on the ground. A couple of years ago, the federal government and then the state of California said, green is a color that we can put down to designate this as exclusively for the use of bicycles. So really that green is just put down to make sure that people are aware that this is only for bicycle travel. In Santa Monica, you'll see that some of our bike lanes are very wide, much wider than bicycles. Some of them have a couple different sets of lines. We'll have straight lines on the outside and then dashed lines. We actually do that to help tell bicyclists where to position themselves to make sure that they're staying away from the cars that are going by, at the same time staying away from doors that might open.
Well, I have more to ask about that, but right now we're going to go to the poll question. Again, do you ever check for parking and traffic information before you leave the house? And we have right now it's 57% of the people, yes, they do check. They do check for traffic information before they leave the house. And again, we can log on to pollev.com/citytv for more information and for our next poll question. But we're going to find out more about pedestrians, bicycles, and a lot more for your parking and traffic here in Santa Monica. It's your call, and I'm Lafern Cusack. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
$5 feeds 20 people?
Pretty amazing, huh?
Who gets this food?
Seniors, Gulf War veterans, and families trying to make ends meet.
All right, Here's $5. Wow, that was fast.
We don't mess around.
How fast can you make this work?
Thank you.
No, miss. Thank you.
You can be a hero too. Please donate to the Westside Food Bank.
Hey kids, what if you saved enough money to buy your own thing? You could buy a video game or even a car one day. You could even help your parents out and pay your own way through college. Let's start by playing a fun game I created just for you. Begin by splitting up every dollar you receive. Put 7 dimes in your spending jar, 2 dimes in your save-a-little jar, and 1 dime in your future jar. To find out more about this game, have your parents help you log on to kidsfinance.com.
Being in foster care was like always living in someone else's house. Being adopted means me and my brother and my sister never have to move again. Last week, our new parents took us to the beach. We'd never seen the ocean before. We collected seashells, and we ate ice cream, and we built a sandcastle, and it was awesome.
Small things mean a lot to a child in foster care. For more information on how you can foster or adopt a child, contact Share Your Heart LA today.
As life transitions,
Volunteer opportunities.
senior resources,
Your trusted source.
And welcome back to It's Your Call. I'm Lafern Cusack, and I have our experts on parking and safety here discussing everything you need to know. And again, you can call in, ask your questions. This is a live talk show, call-in show, 310-458-4950, 310-458-4950. And we do have a poll question going on, and you can log on to pollev.com/citytv. What is your favorite mode of alternate transportation? Walking, bike, or a big blue bus? So log on and we will report the results at the end of the segment. Again, pollev.com/citytv. Now, we were talking about biking during the last segment. Let's talk about pedestrians. How are pedestrians able to just walk in the street? I come from Chicago, and if anyone walked in the street, you were like either hit or something. But I came here, and it was just a whole new world for pedestrians. Pedestrians have a right of way.
Sure, pedestrians do have the right of way. In fact, the California Vehicle Code says outside of a downtown business district, if there's a pedestrian in the roadway, a vehicle has to yield to that pedestrian. At the same time, the Vehicle Code says a pedestrian entering the roadway has to yield to a vehicle. Now, they provide some kind of less than clear legalese type of language that says only if that vehicle presents an imminent threat. So it's up to you to decide whether a vehicle is imminently threatening you.
So you have to have common sense to get out of the road.
That's a great way to put it. It's, use common sense. Look around before entering the roadway. Out in our residential neighborhoods, people do want to cross the street. We have parks and we have restaurants or small cafes to visit. Now, in the downtown areas, we do ask that pedestrians adhere to the marked crosswalks, and the law is very clear that you have to stay at a marked crosswalk. But people don't always do that. We have a lot of foreign visitors, a lot of tourists from out of the country. They see something across the street that they want to get to. Our streets are pretty narrow. They don't see oncoming cars. They may walk towards it. So we ask that motorists driving around Santa Monica just recognize that we have lots of pedestrians, and they may be in the roadway. I think that most people don't want to hit a person, would not want to have that on their conscience. So we ask them just to look up, don't be on your cell phone, pay attention, drive slowly. We have relatively low speed limits in this city. Adhere to them, and keep your eye out for pedestrians.
Let's talk about construction junction. Why do we have construction during the busiest times here in Santa Monica?
Sure, well, we try to minimize that as much as possible. We talked earlier about the rush hour. The rush hour in the afternoon starts around 2 o'clock and it goes to 7 p.m. In the morning it starts about 6 or 7 a.m. and goes to about 10 a.m. So if we ask people to construct outside of rush hours, that would give them about 4 hours in the middle of the day, which is not enough time to really get anything done. You can barely dig a hole and cover it back up in 4 hours. And we try and have our construction activities occur during the day because we've got so many residents that live in the city. Even in downtown, we have a lot of mixed-use residents where the residents live above the commercial areas. They don't want people constructing and digging during all hours of the night. That'll interrupt their lives and make them not be able to sleep. So we do try and minimize it as much as possible. In some cases, we have to have the construction activities occur during the day. It's just the type of work. The expo construction that happened involved pouring concrete to cover an entire intersection. That requires 7 to 10 days of work. It has to happen all the time. The concrete needs to cure and harden so that vehicles can drive on it. But as much as possible, we try and minimize that. Again, that's why we send out this information, though, these text messages, email alerts every Sunday to let people know what the week ahead entails. Maybe they want to stay off the street next week.
Yeah, I was really surprised about how many people do check what's going on the internet or whatever before they go out. That's really amazing. And again, you can log on and submit your poll answer to pollev.com/citytv, and also give us a call and ask our experts anything you want on parking and traffic here in Santa Monica. 310-458-4950. Frank, can you tell us what you see these apps we're talking about? Do you really see more and more people using them that's going to actually help parking here in Santa Monica?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We often have people realize we actually have a real-time phone app that helps them find parking space. We also always emphasize that check it before you drive and have your passenger help you to read.
Now, do you post those results, or how many people use the apps and stuff on your website?
Well, on top of my head, I can tell you more than 15,000 people already downloaded our app, and that's so that's actually a good number of cars that we can assist to bring people into the garages, into the parking lot, find a parking space, and get them to their destination safely and easily.
Now, the way you get out this information is, you were talking about you go to different community groups. Tell us about how you access the people here in Santa Monica to provide them more information on what they can do to, have a better and safe mode of parking and driving here in Santa Monica.
Yeah, I mean, Frank and I frequently meet with all the different business districts, neighborhood groups, resident groups throughout the city, because again, this impacts everybody's lives day to day. Recently, a lot of surveys have gone out and polled people, and surprisingly, parking and traffic are again the #1 concern. So we're out there talking to them. Frank does a lot of work with the businesses, with a lot of the events.
Yeah, especially when there's a big event coming to our city, communication is the key. We meet with every neighborhood group. We meet with every business improvement district to let them know, for example, LA Marathon that just happened not too long ago.
Yes.
We went to every organization to talk to our stakeholder, let them prepare, let them know, let them participate, to let them know what we are doing here, what our plan is. Upcoming things, we're updating our parking equipment, and I have to meet with all the users to let them know, hey, the new parking equipment is coming. It might be a slight inconvenience, but it's necessary to enhance our customer service. So that type of communication really helps our job easier.
What goes into closing down the streets for events?
So it's a really careful process. Unfortunately, a few years back, we had a tragedy at the farmers market here in Santa Monica, where a vehicle intruded in our world famous, the oldest farmers market in California, I believe. But since that time, we've really taken an approach to be very secure and safe in how we're managing all traffic and how we're managing special event type of traffic. We do a lot of planning. We coordinate with the police department. We coordinate with their traffic and parking enforcement, as well as their safety and security enforcement. After the events of the Boston Marathon 2 years ago, we increased the level of security at our marathon in terms of the finish line area. But there's a lot of small events too. Any resident can come and have a block party if they get a certain percentage of people on their street to sign off on it.
Block party?
Can have a block party, and it's relatively inexpensive. And It's a low-key event, and we let people do that. So it's really case by case. We look at the events, we determine the level of traffic control that's necessary, but we want people to be able to have events. At the same time, they need to be safe. They need to have the right traffic control out there.
Yeah. Another viewer emailed in. I know we talked about parking permits, but this is from Jamie. She says, I am a Sunset Park resident. I want to know why we cannot go online to get our guest parking permits day of. We need 24 hours prior to get them. If 3 people show up and visit me unexpectedly, I only have 2 permits. Other cities offer same-day service online. Why can't Santa Monica make it easier?
Well, I guess I can respond to that. Is because we have to make sure the permit that she generate on her own, the information have transferred to our police force, which is the enforcement team. And I'm certainly sure she doesn't want her visitor actually receive a parking citation come out from her house. So it's very important we transfer the information and also confirm with police department that they have the information on their hand that car is valid to park on the block.
Do you see that system moving up or getting quicker or day of?
We are looking into different options, different solutions right now. Hopefully one day we're able to do a real-time communication with the officer out on the field that the day should not be too far away, and hopefully we can move that forward.
All right, I have another viewer who emailed in. Traffic is much better in Santa Monica. Oh, yay! We have a positive one. Okay, in Santa Monica during school holidays. That shows that much of the congestion is produced through the schools. How can the city help parents to drive less and walk or cycle more? How can the city encourage the school district to take serious its commitment to healthy and sustainable education?
I appreciate the perspective of this person who emailed and said traffic is better. I think some people would differ. You know, during spring break when the people aren't in school, we've got thousands of spring break visitors coming to our beaches. And if we have great weather like we did this year, I don't think there was any noticeable change in traffic. But we actually do a lot with the schools. We have a lot of different programs that we do. We do a number of safe routes to school programs, trying to improve the ways that kids can get to school, that can use different modes, biking, walking. We just had an event a few weekends ago called Kiddical Mass, where we got the kids and the parents out and had an organized bike ride to show kids how easy it is to ride a bike in the city. We've done a number of what we call Bike It, Walk It days, where we encourage students to ride their bikes or walk to school. Our events at Santa Monica High School over the past 4 years have increased in size every year. We've closed streets, made temporary bike lanes to improve the access to Santa Monica High School. That's turned into what's called the Michigan Avenue Greenway project that's occurring that will extend down Michigan Avenue so that kids from the eastern side of the city can get into Santa Monica High School on a bike safer and easier. So we do a lot. We do a lot of work with the school district to get people off their bikes and on foot, or excuse me, out of their cars and onto bikes and on foot. But we still know a lot of people drive to school. So we also have to account for that. We have to make the loading and unloading zones logical, easy to understand. Otherwise, parents just want to drive right up to the front door and let their child out. They want to make sure that their most prized person in their life is safely in school. So we try and make it easy for them to load and unload.
Yes. And again, our poll question, what's your favorite mode of alternate transportation? Walk, bike, or the big blue bus? And you can log on to pollev.com/citytv. pollev.com/citytv and submit your choice. I like walking. What do you guys do?
Walking's great. I like to run. I do a lot of walking with a stroller these days.
I don't look too good on a bicycle, so most of the time I walk.
Well, if you walk enough, you can look good on your bicycle as well.
You know, I think it's a great point to ask people, because I think a lot of people think in Santa Monica, traffic's so bad. Well, if you're saying that, you're probably in a car. And think about it. Do you need to make every trip in your car? I think there's a lot of things you can do in Santa Monica by walking or biking. And that's throughout the course of the day. Maybe you do need to drive to work, that's fine. But once you're at work, walk to lunch or take a bike. We're going to have share bike programs, a bike share program going on in this city in the next year or so. That will be a tremendous program to allow people that don't own bikes to rent a bike for a short period of time to go a short distance. We want to put those different modes out there so people can use them and recognize that they don't have to make every trip in a single mode.
Yes, I remember sitting at a stoplight passing a young lady on her bike, and I was sitting at the stoplight, and then she passed me and kept on going, and I was still sitting at the light. She's far ahead, going on her merry way. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's quicker.
There are times in the city where it's better to be on a bike or on foot.
Yeah, absolutely. We also have another question about the shopping. This person was shopping at a hardware shop recently, and they found it difficult to park with their bike. A parking meter was already occupied by another bike. Can the business owner get in touch with the city and request one of those bike racks to be installed in front of the shop?
Yes, they can call us, 310-458-8291. They can email us, transportation.mgmt@smgov.net, and we will work with them to install bike racks on the street in front of their property. We can also direct them to find bike racks. If they want to put bike racks on their property itself, we can actually direct them to good manufacturers, very good, secure bike racks. There's a lot of bad bike racks out there that actually aren't safe to lock your bike to.
Yeah.
So we can actually direct them to better manufacturers, better bike racks that are safer. But we've installed hundreds of bike racks throughout the city, and we recognize that's a much needed commodity. There's a lot of people riding bikes, and they want to lock them securely.
Yeah. So will the parking for the bicycles, the share ride bicycles, will that fall under you, Frank?
That's actually in our department, but it's a separate division in our department, but we're actually going to be looking for space on the street primarily, maybe taking parking spaces and putting these stations in there. If you've been to cities like Washington, D.C. or Paris, they've got these bike share stations now. New York City recently deployed it.
I saw New York's. I was like, oh my gosh, that would be wonderful. I would definitely hop on a bike and do that program.
Great.
Absolutely.
Great.
So how can we find out more information about that?
I would come to our department's website, smgov.net/PCD. It stands for Planning and Community Development, and you can get all the information about all these different projects that we're working on.
Yeah, and you guys definitely have a lot. What goes into putting in a new street for here in Santa Monica? I know that you deal with that.
We don't put in a lot of new streets here. We've got most of our streets are built out. We do have a new street, Olympic Drive, between Main Street and Ocean Avenue is going in. What goes into that is about a 10 to 15 year process of acquiring land, designing what that project will be. It's a community-based project, so there's a lot of outreach to the community to find out what they want to see. But then when we finally get to the point where we're building the street, there's a lot of engineering design that goes into that. Frank and I look at it and say, okay, what kind of parking controls do we need to have on the street? I look at it with my transportation engineers and say, what kind of signals and crosswalks do we need? It's a long process, but a process that we don't get to do too often here.
So what would be your advice for the people that are listening now and watching us now about, traffic and parking here in Santa Monica? Frank?
Definitely download our phone app on the real-time parking phone app. Check where you want to go, where's the closest parking space that you can find. Don't drive around, try to chance it where you can find a parking space. Know more before you get out there is definitely helpful. A little tip, if you want to go down to our downtown area, Civic Center is actually has a larger inventory on parking and also more affordable parking in Civic Center area. And the walk from Civic Center to downtown, it's only 1,000 steps away.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, if you want to enjoy our beach, the South Beach lot is definitely the best choice. It's easy access to leave, and also more parking space available.
Great. So now we're going to the results. What's your favorite mode of alternate transportation? The results, wow, we have 50% love the bikes, and we have a 36% love to walk, and what's that, 9% they do the big blue bus. So I guess I won on that one. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me here today. Again, Sam Morrissey, a city traffic engineer, and Frank Ching, parking administrator for the city of Santa Monica. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Lafern Cusack, and again, it's your call. Please join us next time and log on for more information.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.